All right, so this is a training that actually really inspired me the other day. I was listening to a Brian Buffini YouTube podcast, and it kind of really got me thinking of, different sort of things. So I figured I'd bring the excitement of what I kind of gathered here today on this training. So it's the blue collared mindset. So let's get right into it. Let me go next. There we go. So what is blue collar? What does that mean? Literally, the plumbers, electricians, contractors, all the laborers, back in the day, they would go to work in a blue collared polo that was durable and, looked professional, but at the same time was able to take on a lot of the day's stressors. So that's why they were labeled blue collars. What it is in a figurative sense is it's a way of thinking and an approach to the work. So blue collar workers are generally not afraid to get their hands dirty. They're not afraid to do any job that needs to be done to get the client on a satisfactory level. And they just kind of will just work through it and just keep going. They believe that a job well done is a job that was done right. So a quote that came out of the YouTube thing was, if you don't have time to do the job right, then you don't have time to do the job over. So you might as well do it right the first time. So that's kind of the mentality they take into all their jobs. Less talk, more action. So they're not going to talk about doing it. They know that they have to show up. They have to get the job done. If the house needs to be painted or the electric work needs to be fixed, it has to get done that day. And they can't fake it. So obviously, if you only paint half a wall, it's pretty noticeable. So you can't fake the fact that you didn't paint the whole wall. So that's kind of the blue collar mentality is you show up every day, you do your best, and you get the job done, no excuses. So some of the stats that came out of it is blue collar workers actually have a high sense of satisfaction. They have a sense of pride in their work because generally most of them are in business for themselves. 91% of blue collar workers are satisfied and proud of their work, and 85% say that their lives are headed in the right direction. So they have a high sense of satisfaction, and we're going to dive into why that is right now. So they have the sense of accomplishment. So, they get to work, they had their list that they needed to get done, and it was accomplished. So they have physical indicators of what they accomplished throughout a day. So that's very satisfying. It's very over the top. It's a sense of, it gives them a sense of pride that they got the job done, they got it done right. They're physically tired at the end of the day, which releases more endorphins, and that gives them a greater sense of satisfaction because the dopamine levels are up. So they're happier because they got that good workout during the day, and the physicality levels of most of their job is just kind of gives them that mental stimulation of I did a good job, and they're happier and more satisfied because of it. Their stress levels are down because they have their list of what needed to get done that day, and it got done. And so they don't have to carry anything over to the next day because their clients that were scheduled that day were serviced that day, and their list is done for that day, and now they can move on to the next day's tasks. And they have tangible results. So they know that if you're a plumber and the pipe wasn't fixed correctly, you're hearing about it right away. If you're an air conditioning contract, you're hearing about that bad result right away. So they're able to correct it and fix it. It's nothing that's going to linger. They have the tangible results. They're also going to have the tangible results of if they don't hear that complaint, everything was done right, everything's good, and they can move on from that client onto the next. So that gives them the reasons why they have the sense of accomplishment and they have such satisfactory numbers. So that brings us to the white collar jobs. What is a white collar job? Well, that is the people who showed up to office. They sit behind a desk. They wore white collars to work, and it was what it is. It's more mentally draining, less physical. Generally, it's a salaried position, and they're comfortable and stable with that salary. There's not a lot of incentives. There's not a lot of ability to move forward with that job, and they're kind of they're there to do a job, a task, they're set goals, and as long as they hit that, they maintain their salary and they keep going on. It's a very comfortable setting. You can see right here, 70% of white collared people sought new jobs in the last 24 months. So that would lead me to believe that their satisfaction of their job and their pride and their sense of ownership of that position is just not there. So let's dive into why. Generally, as we were talking about, they're working for someone else, and they're fulfilling an agenda that's set forth from their top managers or the owner of the company. So they have no ownership, they have no pride, they have no say in the direction of the company. They're just there to fulfill a job and get the work done. They don't have the ability to make more money unless they beg for it or ask for a raise or something along those lines, but generally those are capped out. And so they don't have as much control over what happens. And there's very, very little physical output. So at the end of the day, you come home, you are mentally exhausted, but physically you're ready to go. You want to go and work out. Your body's saying, hey, I haven't been worked all day. I need some action too. So you kind of have a little bit of a battle between your mind and your body going on. And so that creates a little bit of conflict within yourself. So that's kind of the differences between the blue collar and the white collar jobs. So let's meet. So the blue collar and the white collar, why can't we bring the two together? So we are actually, as realtors, considered more of a white collar job, but we have a lot of blue collar traits. So you are in business for yourself, even though you're kind of not. You are making money, even though you're kind of not, because commission jobs is all about you. Whether you can get there or not is fully dependent on you and your abilities and your work ethic. So technically, we're considered a white collar job because it's a lot of desk work and it's a lot of, phone time and whatnot. But really, if you think about it and you break it down, it's a blue collar job. You've got to grind it out. We've got to do a lot of things that aren't technically in our job description, but you own your own business. So at the end of the day, your job is to make your client or your customer happy. So that's a flaw in the system, is that these two concepts have to be separate and they have to remain separate. White collar can't enter a blue collar world. Blue collar can't enter a white collar world. And so the thought process behind Buffini and what this was is, why not? And how do we make that work? So what if you brought the blue collar mindset to the real estate profession? What would that look like? So if you've ever asked yourself any of these questions, so if you ever feel like you worked hard, but at the end of the day, you're like, I'm not really sure what I accomplished. I just know that I busted my butt today and I'm not sure really what got done. If you're mentally exhausted, but you feel like your body still needs to run, you need to go to the gym, you need to work out. I know Colleen does that on a daily basis. She's got a ball of energy and she's mentally exhausted at the end of the day. So, and if you've ever thought of any of these phrases, which I know a lot of people on this Zoom, I've physically had this conversation with you. But if I can't do that, I can't ask for that. That's not possible. There's no way they're going to go for that. Or that's not for me. And, a lot of times that's based off of cold calling. I'm not going to do that because that's just not something I want to do. It's not something that I'm comfortable with. If you've ever thought of those phrases, then this is a really good slide presentation for you of a mindset change that you might want to consider making. So I'm in the process of reading this book right now. So I'm putting together a couple of different things that we've been working on. Colleen's read this book and she's putting it into practice and she's actually doing really, really well with it. It's something that I'm just started reading, but there's already some things that I've taken away from it that are really important to accomplishing this blue collar mindset and the ways to do it. So I highly recommend getting this book and reading it if you haven't already, because it really sets you up for success. But one, you want to get organized. So daily goals and prioritizing your day, and you want to complete the most important tasks first. So the example here, a roofer doesn't start with the shingles. So if the roofer is going to go and put the shingles on, well, he's going to have problems putting the baseboards down, and he's going to have problems putting the straps on the roof. So he's got a priority of lists of how he goes about putting a roof on a house. You want to have 3 have-to tasks and 1 must task. The 1 must task you need to do first in the day. It's the thing that's the most important accomplishment that you have to get done to the day. What it's going to do is it's going to release your mind and your energy so that you know that you're not stressed because the stuff that you had to get done, you got done.
Right.
How many times do you look at your to-do list on a daily basis? Colleen, I'll get to you in a second. How many times do you look at your to-do list on a daily basis and say, oh, I'm just going to get all this fluff done first so that I have time to concentrate on the important task? And then how many times does that important task actually get done once you've gotten to that place? It doesn't. It's almost impossible because the fact that your day kind of takes over, new things come up, new things come in, distractions enter the world, and you now just are on kind of now the important task that you had to get done today is in jeopardy of not getting done, and now you're stressed out, and now you're going to be working longer and not being able to do it. Colleen, you wanted to jump in and say something?
Yeah, it's 3 most important, 1 must. Just wanted to clarify that. It's easier to remember that way as well. But if you write down those should be the first things that you do in the day, because then not only will you get it done, but you'll free your mind of all that baggage thinking about those are things you need to do and just kind of procrastinate. So if you get those out of the way, you really do free up a lot of time and energy and wasted kind of whatever. So regardless, but that's it is. So if you write down your 3 most every night, 3 most important, 1 must, and you do them first thing, you will accomplish a lot in a short amount of time.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So some other steps to do, you got to develop your daily action plan. And this should consist of who do you want to contact? What is the goal of the connection? So do you want to connect with this person for a referral source? Maybe it's a past client that had a really good experience with you. They left some great reviews and you wanted to see if they know anyone selling or if they would be willing to freshen up that review. How many new contacts do you want to make? So this is important because you want to continuously build your sphere and build your base of clients that you can reach out to on a consistent basis. And step 3 is get an accountability partner. So you see Kim and Heather right there together. They're working on a program that actually, they're working on a program that is pretty much based off of what we're talking about here. And they're going to keep each other accountable. They're going to develop, their systems of what they want to do and what they want to accomplish. And I can already tell you that they're in the process of making themselves accountable for the work that they want to accomplish and the goals that they want to reach. So, you can see that they're there together today, and they're getting that process going, which is great. One thing, so we talked about satisfaction and pride in your work and being able to have tangible results. So what this guy did, is he actually just took an index card every day and he would make a tick mark. So if his goal was to call 25 people, he would tick mark every time he made a call. If his goal was to visit 5 people, he would make a tick mark every time he had a visit, and he'd write down who he visited. So he was able, at the end of the week, what he did was he put it in like one of those recipe card holder thingies, and he was able to tangibly see the work he accomplished at the end of the week. So that then creates a sense of pride for him to be able to go back and say, okay, I did something this week. Here are my results. And here now I can set myself up to keep going. And it just gave him the energy that he needed and a sense of accomplishment to be able to keep going. Because in this business especially, we can get so caught up in working in our business that we forget to work on our business. And then once you come up for air at the end of the week, you're like, crap, I have no idea what I did this week. I know I did a lot. I'm exhausted, but I have zero clue what I actually did. This is a really good way to kind of keep yourself accountable, but also be able to give yourself those tangible results. All right. Think like a blue collar. So go above and beyond. So if you can think of any time that you had a service whether it was a painter, whether it was a plumber, whether it was furniture delivery, whether it was moving company, anything you can think of. So the example that they used in the YouTube video was that his daughter got furniture delivered. So she just bought this, brand new apartment, and parents bought the furniture for her, and they came over to take a look at it all. And, the furniture looked great. Everything was good, but there was those, packing peanuts all over the place. Some of the plastic wrap was still on the furniture. They had scuffed part of the floor coming in. And they just didn't finish the job the way that they pretty much just transactionally accomplished the job. They dropped the furniture off. They didn't really care about how it looked as they left. And so what that did was it created zero sense of loyalty. So as the consumer now comes home, now I have a different job to do by cleaning up. And even though it only may take 15 minutes, it still does not create a sense of loyalty as the consumer to that furniture company. Now think about if that furniture company came in and they cleaned all the carpets that they made a mess on. They made sure the popcorn things were cleaned up. They fixed any, scuff marks that they might have made, and they made it just completely 100% user ready. Well, now I'm going to have more sense of loyalty. And because of that sense of loyalty, I'm actually going to be willing to pay a little bit more just to make sure I have that same great service. So, whereas now, he has a 6,500 square foot home that he had just bought with no furniture in it. Now he's just going after the best price because there was no loyalty. So that furniture company potentially just lost out on furnishing another 6,500 square foot home just because they didn't do 15 minutes of extra work to make sure that customer was completely satisfied. So what's the point on this? Well, go above and beyond. Do the jobs that you don't even think are really your job. Obviously within reason, because in this industry that they're going to, they're going to ask and ask and ask of you. So within reason, there's some things that you shouldn't be doing. But, if it's, for instance, we had one of our homes in Melbourne, the VA appraiser came out and there was 4 little items on the tick sheet. The client was really above, they were totally done with everything. They just were moved out mentally and they didn't want to do anything. So it was like fixing a tile on a roof. It was a couple other little jobs. So, as the realtor, that's not really our job. Usually you hire a handyman, but to get that job done, sometimes you go above and beyond. And so I just went and quickly, installed a new tile. They're getting a new roof anyway, so it didn't have to be anything professional. And you just kind of make those little adjustments just so that the deal can go through and everything's happy. So going above and beyond really does that. And what that now does is, the guy was, he's an Army veteran. He knows a lot of people. His son's in the mortgage business. His daughter is another realtor. And so now I have a really good relationship with a lot of people up in that area that are now, potentially going to send me referrals because I went above and beyond for their father. So that's something that, just an example of how we can take it and go above and beyond for our clients. Kim does it all the time. Heather does it all the time with their clients. We get consistent feedback from their clients of how the experience with them wouldn't have been able to happen had it not been through one of their efforts, because the care that they take care of their clients, they go above and beyond. They're available. They pick up their phone. They'll do things that most realtors won't do, and they'll take that extra step. And that's why, especially Kim, her business is almost 100% referral based. So that's just a testament to how they do business, and that's the result of how they do business. So that's what they're talking about here. And doing little extra things too, like they're talking about, how he used to be a painter, and when they finished a paint job, they would actually change out the light bulbs. They would wash the windows so that paint job was maximized as far as how it looked and what they did in the job that they created. And so think about how you can do that in your real estate career. How can you take the job that you did and went above and beyond and killed it for your client, and how can you maximize that exposure so it makes everything look pristine, pretty, and clear for you to take into your next transaction. So think about that. And that leads into all these other points. Take ownership in your business. This is your brand. What do you want it to look like? No excuses. You just got to get the job done. So, the mortgage company, dropped the ball. Well, there's no excuse. How do we get it done? Like, we don't point fingers. Just, continue to move forward, figure it out, and how do we get to that point where your client is completely taken care of and you've done everything you can to get that deal to close or get what their goal is accomplished. Find a specialty. So, and be specific with it. I want to be, sorry, hold on. I want to go and be the top listing agent in Villalago community and have 5 listings a month in that particular community. So be incredibly specific with what your goal is and get that specialty. That will help you continuously be building for your future. But you need to start with having that goal and having that foundation. And envision your business and what you want it to look like. So this is the mindset training of you closing your eyes. If you could have your perfect transaction, you could have your perfect situation, your perfect scenario, envision it. What does it look like? What does your career look like? What do you want to be known for as a realtor? And that's what you want to kind of envision. And then you're going to set goals and you're going to set the steps and set the baseline to start developing that. All right. Just keep switching back and forth because your faces are over the slides here. So create daily routines. This is one way that you can start accomplishing this baseline foundation. And as we always talk about, sales is about consistency. Being consistent is going to get you consistent results. If you're consistently doing things wrong, you're going to get consistently bad results. So, if you're not adjusting course and something's not going quite right and you're not tweaking it, it's going to continue to do that. So if you're doing everything, right, and you're doing everything, if you're doing everything consistently as far as your routine and things are starting to be consistent with your results, keep it up. And then just make minor tweaks to make that better, to make it enhanced and find out what's really helping you. So, they suggest waking up at the same time every day, getting a morning routine going. So whether that's working out, hold on, Colleen, I'll get you. Whether that's working out, whether that is, spending the time with your kids to get them out the door on time, whatever it is, don't go and just immediately open your phone, check your emails, start checking make sure your day is set up so that you can be the most effective. And track your activity so you can keep yourself accountable. And then it says develop a workout routine so your mind and body are both working in lockstep. So these are all the baseline behaviors that you want to start creating for yourself so that you can start building that base of what you're looking to accomplish. What's up, Colleen?
Oh, yeah. And also there's a schedule. One of Steve Morris's, he highly recommends it's a schedule you followed every day. It's uploaded into Office Docs under document section in the resource center. So it's literally labeled schedule, and it's really, if it does produce results, if you check it out, it shows you kind of what you should be doing at certain times of the day.
Yeah. So getting organized is your top priority. Start developing the daily routines and, take the mindset of the blue collar of there are no excuses. If I got to crack up some concrete to get the driveway laid out today, it has to be done in the next 2 hours. So make sure that you're getting those routines started and you're building your foundation and you're constantly wanting to do it through activities. So make sure it's always heavily revolved around activities. So what is the activities? That's the calling. Who are you going to meet? How are you going to meet them? It's sending letters. It's having a goal of every day adding X amount of people to your database. So how are you going to do that? Who does that look like? Is it your golden gooses? Is it just people that you want to run into in the supermarket? Whatever it is, how are you going to add people to your database on a daily basis and talk to them about real estate? So this is Brian Buffini. This is what you guys can go look at YouTube if you want to see exactly where this training came from and what I'm talking about. This is where it's a 50-minute long YouTube interview with Joe, and it's very, very informative. And they both come from blue collar backgrounds. Brian Buffini's dad was a painter. Joe's dad was a concrete layer. They did driveways and whatnot. So they come up, they built, but they're both multimillionaires now because they put their blue collar mentality into the real estate world. And, they're sharing about how they do that and what their mindset is. So it's really a cool YouTube. It inspired me to kind of rethink a lot of things and reshape a lot of things that I want to accomplish and do. So I highly encourage you taking a look at that YouTube video and just giving it some time and investing in watching it. So that is that. Does anyone have any questions? No? All right.
It was a good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. But yeah, so Buffini, and I would encourage actually watching. I mean, he has a lot of free information and a lot of free trainings, and his show, I think you can watch. It's on YouTube. There's a lot of good content if you're looking for the referral mindset. He's definitely the top in the industry for that. And you don't have to pay for a lot of the stuff. If you want to then go invest and pay for one of his trainings, you absolutely can do that. But there's a lot of free stuff that will definitely get you thinking and spark some ideas of maybe little tweaks you can do to your own business to maximize what you're trying to get out of this industry. So with that being said, if there's no questions, I'll hang out. I'm going to stop recording. But I'll hang out and answer any questions anyone might have. And
I'll say a quick story about Brian Buffini. So how he sets goals is he literally sets nothing related to real estate. So his goal, he had just had a baby, his first baby, and he had just bought a house with his wife. And he set a goal of sending his whole entire family, by paying for it, to Ireland. So that was his goal. And he wrote it down. He wrote exactly what he wanted to accomplish it. And then he wrote down what he thought, what would happen if he didn't accomplish that goal. And then he instantly thought that his parents might die and never have that opportunity. And that horrified him. So he booked all the plane tickets that day. And then he knew at that point on, he had to deliver. And from then on, his focus was that. And he went from doing from 6 listings a month to 12 to 13 the next month, and was able to do it. But when you put the foreground, like what you really, really want to accomplish, and you'll just hammer it out and not even, you'll be on, he had to deliver, because if he didn't, he would be a ton of debt. And so he just put the focus on what he really wanted to accomplish in life, and he actually hit it and was able to take his whole family to Ireland. So it's bigger than that. Your goals can be, if you want to make an appointment with someone, but if it's bigger, if it's more like, I want to spend more time with my kids and not worry about everything related to real estate all the time. So if you just put a bigger goal and more based around family and friends, you will do what it takes to hit it. And Brian Buffini's a genius. So yeah.
Yeah, he's really, I get very inspired by all the stuff I listen to with him. And I don't generally get inspired by motivational speakers, but he for sure taps into something and a level of business that I definitely want to get to, in mentality, more importantly, of how I want to be perceived in the business world and in our brokerage. So he definitely, is a good resource to kind of look into if you're wanting to. All right, so here I'm going to stop recording.